Welcome to Nightmare Report. Story number 1. In 2010, a 12-year-old Boy Scout named Michael went on a weekend trip in the mountains of North Carolina. It was supposed to be routine, hiking, campfire, merit badges, safe. That changed in less than 10 minutes. The troop had stopped near a trail intersection, and Michael wandered just a little off path to look at something. A deer, he later said. When he turned back, everything looked the same. Trees, brush, silence. He walked in the direction he thought was right. It wasn't. At first, he wasn't scared. He'd been taught what to do. Stay put. But panic doesn't wait for logic. The woods were getting darker, quieter, no voices, no footsteps, just wind brushing leaves together. He kept moving. By nightfall, he was completely lost. The temperature dropped fast. He had no jacket, just a light shirt. He tried to yell, but after a few minutes, his voice started cracking. Eventually, he stopped calling out. No one was answering. That's when the fear set in. He later said the worst part wasn't the cold, it was the silence. The kind that makes your own breathing sound too loud. The kind that makes every snapped twig feel like something watching you. He curled up near a fallen log and tried to sleep. But sometime in the night, he heard something walking nearby. Slow, heavy steps. He froze. The footsteps circled, then stopped. He didn't move, didn't breathe. After what felt like hours, the sound faded. Morning came, and with it, hunger and confusion. Michael started walking again, deeper into terrain he didn't recognize. Search teams were already out by then, calling his name, but in dense forest, sound doesn't travel the way you think. On the second night, he cried himself to sleep. On the third day, he collapsed near a stream. That's where they found him, weak, dehydrated, barely able to speak. He had survived almost 72 hours alone. When rescuers asked what kept him going, he said something simple. I just didn't want to stop walking, because if I stopped, it felt like something would find me. Story number 2. In 2013, a man named Thomas set out alone for a hunting trip in the dense forests of Oregon. He'd done this for years, knew the terrain, trusted his instincts. That's why what happened next didn't make sense. On day 1, everything was normal. He marked his path, tracked movement, and set up a small camp. On day 2, he noticed something strange. His markers were gone. At first he thought he just misremembered, but then he found one. Moved, placed somewhere he knew he hadn't left it. He brushed it off. By afternoon, fog rolled in thick. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. He decided to head back to camp. He never found it. For hours he walked in what he believed was a straight line, but the forest twisted, paths that looked familiar weren't. Landmarks repeated, trees seemed identical. That night, he realized he was lost. He built a fire and stayed awake most of the night. Around midnight, he heard something unnatural, not an animal. A whistle, short, sharp, too controlled. He called out. The whistle came again, from a different direction. Then silence. He didn't sleep. By day 3, his food was nearly gone. He tried following downhill, hoping to find water or a road. Instead, he found deeper wilderness. That's when things got worse. He began hearing movement that matched his pace. When he stopped, it stopped. When he walked, it followed. He never saw anything. On day 4, he considered staying in one place, but the feeling of being watched was too strong. He kept moving, despite exhaustion. By day 5, he was barely functioning. Search teams finally spotted him after a helicopter sweep. He was miles from where he should have been, farther than he could reasonably have walked in that time. When questioned later, he insisted on one thing. I wasn't alone out there. No evidence ever supported what he heard, but he never went hunting alone again. Story number 3. In 1998, a family of 4 in California decided to take a scenic shortcut through a forested mountain road. It was supposed to save time. Instead, it nearly cost them their lives. The road started normal, gravel, narrow but passable. Then it got worse, steeper, rougher, less maintained. Eventually, it disappeared entirely. By the time they realized the mistake, turning around wasn't easy. The terrain was tight, uneven. Still, they tried. The car got stuck. No signal, no traffic, no signs of life. They decided to walk. They left the car behind with minimal supplies, thinking they'd find help quickly. They didn't. Hours passed. Then the sun started setting. They kept going. Night in the forest is different. It swallows everything: light, sound, direction. They huddled together under trees, trying to stay warm. That night, they heard distant noises, branches snapping, something moving through brush. The father tried to stay calm, but the tension spread. By morning, they were exhausted. They split up briefly to search for a way out, a decision they would later regret. Even a short separation felt like losing each other entirely. They reunited, but barely. By day 2, dehydration hit hard. The kids struggled to walk. The mother kept them moving. On day 3, they found water, but no road. Search teams were already looking, but the forest was massive. Finally, on day 4, they stumbled onto a barely visible trail. It led to a road, then eventually to a passing vehicle. They were rescued, alive, but severely dehydrated and disoriented. The shocking part? They had been less than 10 miles from civilization the entire time. But in dense wilderness, distance doesn't matter. Direction does. Story number 4. In 2007, a woman named Laura went hiking alone in Colorado. It was a trail she'd done before, moderate, well-marked, until she heard something that made her step off it. A voice. At first she thought it was another hiker calling out. It sounded faint, like someone in the distance saying, "Hello?" She responded, no answer. She heard it again, slightly to her right. Without thinking, she stepped off the trail to investigate. That decision changed everything. The voice seemed just out of reach, always ahead, always faint. She kept walking, expecting to find someone injured, someone needing help. But there was no one. After about 20 minutes, she stopped. The trail was gone, completely gone. Panic hit instantly. She tried retracing her steps, but everything looked identical. Then she heard the voice again, closer this time. "Hello?" But something felt off. The tone wasn't right, too flat, too consistent. She didn't follow it anymore. Instead, she turned and walked the opposite direction. That's when she realized how quiet the woods had become. No birds, no insects, just her footsteps. She walked for hours, trying to find anything familiar. Eventually, darkness fell. That night, she didn't sleep. She heard movement, light, circling, never approaching fully. And once, she heard that same voice again, right behind her. She ran. By morning, she was exhausted and disoriented, but she kept moving downhill. Eventually, she found a stream, then a trail, then hikers. She was rescued after nearly 36 hours missing. When authorities asked about the voice, they assumed it was auditory confusion, something the brain does under stress. But Laura insisted it wanted me to follow it. She never hiked alone again. Story number 5. I wasn't supposed to get lost. That's what I kept telling myself as the sun sank behind the tree line, stretching shadows into long, skeletal fingers across the forest floor. It started as a simple hike. I'd picked a marked trail, nothing difficult, nothing remote. Just a few hours out, a few hours back, I even told someone where I was going, all the things you're supposed to do. But somewhere along the way, the trail stopped making sense. At first, it was subtle. The markers, those small painted blazes on trees, became harder to spot. I told myself I just needed to pay closer attention. Then I realized something worse. They weren't just harder to find. They were inconsistent. One pointed left. The next, 100 yards later, pointed back the way I came. I stood there for a while, turning slowly, trying to make sense of it. The woods were quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just that hollow silence that makes your ears ring. I picked a direction and kept walking. That was my first mistake. The second was when I checked my phone. No signal, of course, but worse, my GPS map had frozen. My location dot blinked, then vanished. I laughed, actually laughed, a nervous, stupid sound that didn't belong in that kind of silence. Okay, I said out loud, as if someone might hear me. Just retrace your steps. So I turned around, except nothing looked familiar. The trees were all the same height, same spacing, same gray-brown bark. The forest floor was a carpet of dead leaves, unmarked by footprints, even mine. That's when the panic started creeping in. Not a rush, not a scream, just a slow, tightening feeling in my chest. I started walking faster. Branches snapped under my feet. My breathing grew louder, harsher. I told myself to stay calm, but every direction looked identical. And then I saw it, a trail marker. Relief hit me so hard my knees nearly gave out. I rushed toward it, just a red stripe painted on a tree. But when I got close, I stopped. It wasn't clean, it wasn't official. It looked smeared, like someone had dragged their fingers through wet paint, or something darker. I stared at it, unease crawling up my spine. Then I noticed something else. Underneath the red smear, faint but visible, was another mark, a different color, blue. I hadn't been following a red trail. I stepped back slowly, my heart hammering. Okay, I whispered. Someone's messing with the trail, that's all. But deep down, I knew that didn't make sense. Who would come this far out just to confuse hikers? And why was everything so quiet? That's when I heard it, a voice, faint, distant. Hello? I froze. It sounded like a person, maybe another hiker. Hey, I called back. I'm over here. Silence. Then, again, closer this time. Hello? It sounded off, not distorted, not exactly, just wrong, like someone repeating a word they didn't understand. I swallowed hard. Can you hear me? I shouted. A pause. Then, from somewhere behind me, can you hear me? My blood ran cold. Same words, same tone, my voice. I turned slowly, scanning the trees. Nothing, no movement, no figure, just the forest, watching. I backed away, shaking my head. Nope, not happening. I started walking again, faster now, not caring which direction. Branches clawed at my arms as I pushed through underbrush. The voice came again, closer. Hey, I didn't respond. Hey, it was me, exactly me. I broke into a run. The ground sloped downward, roots snagging at my boots. My lungs burned, but I didn't stop. Then I tripped, hard. I hit the ground, the impact knocking the air from my chest. For a moment, everything went black. When I opened my eyes, it was darker. The sun was nearly gone, and right in front of me, another trail marker, red, smeared, but this one had something else. Scratched into the bark beneath it were words. I leaned closer, my hands trembling. Stop following, my throat went dry. Behind me, a twig snapped. I turned slowly, and for just a second, I saw something between the trees. My shape, my height, standing perfectly still, watching me. Then it stepped back into the darkness and disappeared. I didn't move, I didn't breathe, because deep down, I understood something I didn't want to admit. I hadn't been lost, I had been led. Story number 6. We shouldn't have camped there. Every bad story starts with that sentence, but this time it's true. There were 3 of us, me, Daniel, and Jess. We'd driven out past where the paved roads ended, past even the dirt trails most people wouldn't risk. We wanted isolation, real wilderness, and we found it. The forest was dense, packed with towering pines that blocked out most of the sky. The air felt heavier there, still, almost suffocating. Daniel joked about it, said it felt like the woods were holding their breath. Jess didn't laugh, neither did I. Still, we set up camp, a fire, a couple tents, normal stuff. For a while, it felt fine. We talked, ate, passed around a cheap flashlight when the fire dimmed. It was quiet, but not unnaturally so. Then the wind started. At least, that's what I thought it was. A low, constant whisper threading through the trees. Not rustling leaves, something more deliberate. You hear that? Jess asked, her voice tight. Daniel shrugged. Wind. But he didn't sound convinced. The whispering didn't stop. It rose and fell, like distant voices speaking just out of reach. I tried to ignore it, until it changed. It started sounding like words, not clear, not fully formed, but close enough to make your brain try to fill in the gaps. Don't do that, I muttered, pressing my hands over my ears. Do what? Daniel asked. Trying to mess with us. I'm not doing anything. Jess stared into the trees, pale. It's not him. The whispering grew louder, not around us, closer, like it was circling. We fed the fire, flames leaping higher. The light pushed back the darkness, but not far enough. Beyond the glow, the trees seemed thicker, crowded, like they were leaning in. I don't like this, Jess said. We should leave. In the dark? Daniel shook his head. No way. We'll just stick it out till morning. The whispering stopped, just like that. The silence that followed was worse, because now there was nothing to explain it away. We sat there not speaking. Then, a voice, clear, close. Jess. She flinched. Did you? Yeah, I said. Daniel stood up, turning toward the trees. Hello? No answer, then again. Jess. It came from behind us this time. We spun around. Nothing, just shadows. Jess grabbed my arm. That's not funny. I didn't either, Daniel said quickly. The voice came again, softer now. Jess, come here. She shook her head violently. Nope, no, that's not real. But her feet shifted, just slightly, toward the trees. I tightened my grip on her. Don't move. I'm not trying to, she whispered. But she was, step by step, almost like she couldn't help it. Jess, stop, Daniel said, rushing forward. The whispering returned, louder, urgent. The trees seemed to pulse with it. Come here. Jess, come here. She broke free from my grip and ran, straight into the forest. Jess, we shouted, chasing after her. The firelight vanished behind us almost instantly, swallowed by darkness. Branches tore at my clothes. The ground was uneven, treacherous. Ahead, I could see her silhouette darting between trees. Jess, wait. She didn't. The whispering guided her, pulling her deeper. Then suddenly, she stopped, so abruptly that I nearly ran into her. Daniel caught up a second later, breathing hard. Jess, what are you? He stopped. We all did, because the trees ahead opened into a small clearing, and in the center was a figure, tall, thin. Its body was wrong, too long in places, bent in ways that didn't make sense. Its head tilted toward us, and when it spoke, it used Jess's voice. Why did you follow me? Jess let out a broken sob. That's not me, she whispered. The thing smiled. I couldn't see its face clearly, but I felt it, that smile. Then it stepped closer. The whispering surged again, deafening now. Daniel grabbed my arm. We need to go, now. But Jess didn't move. The thing reached out a hand. Too many fingers. Come here, it said. She took a step forward. No, I shouted, pulling her back. For a moment she resisted. Then her body went limp, like something inside her had just let go. Daniel didn't hesitate. He grabbed her other arm, and together, we dragged her backward. The thing didn't chase us. It just watched, smiling. The whispering faded as we stumbled back toward camp. When we finally burst into the clearing, the fire was still burning, but lower now, weaker. We didn't sleep, not even close. At dawn, we packed up and left without a word. Jess didn't speak the whole drive back. She barely blinked. And sometimes, when the car was quiet, I swear I could still hear it. That whispering, soft, patient, waiting. Because whatever we found in those woods didn't stay there.